السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته dhegeystayaal kusoo dhawaada xalqad cusub Say Wallahi Podcast waa muxuu ahaa idaacadda Soomaalida oo ka soo baxayso gobolka Minnesota waxay ni diyaariyeen walaalihiina Maxamed iyo Maxamed muxuu ahaa Maxamedna waa la dhahayo Muhammadna waa dhihi kartaa hadda Soomaaliga kugu adag yahay
a little bit
marka waa Muhammad iyo Maxamed muxuu ahaa kusoo dhawaada idaacadda waa xalqadii labaad maanta insha Allah waxa idin diyaarinay بحث oo dheer oo ka hadlayo muxuu ahaa taariikhda Soomaalida hore oo intuu islaamka soo gaarin ka hor Soomaalida xaaladooda muxuu ahaa sidee ahayd dhulka Soomaaliya hadda u naqaano Somalia geeska Afrika u naqaano yaa degnaa arimahaas dhan aan ka hadli doonaa insha Allah wuxuu ahaa inta bilaawina Maxamed wuxuu siin doonaa xogaa dhacdooyinka hadda Soomaaliya ka socoto current affairs xogaa for like insha Allah 10 minutes aan ka hadli doonaa marka saas bahanaysa xalqada maanta waxa aan sheegayna laakiin before we go into the discussion baxthigaas uu binay ma aha baxthi oo clear ah baxthi ku xiran taariikhda Soomaalida sidii Soomaalida iskugu sheegaan when it comes to hadal ahaan clear Soomaalida waa oral tradition mugtahay oral tradition dhibaatooyin badan uu leeyahay waxa kamid ah muxuu ahaa jiilkan hadda jiro jiilka ku xigo wuxuu u sheego jiilka ku xigo wuxuu u sheego markasta waxba meesha laga sii saaraa dhacdooyinka dhacay taariikhda jiil kasta jiilka ku xigo waxa la macaan widaaniyaan waxa ku xunna way ka saari karaan
edit it a little
because there's no wax qoraal ah ma jiro marka taas waa wax horta proven khaladaadkaas iyo dhibaatooyinkaas ay leedahay marka taariikhda kaliya ay noqoto wax oo la isku sheegay leeyahay mogtahay marka baxdigan anaga taas kaliya kuma saabsanaanayso baxdigan wuxuu ahaana wax ku saabsan qoraalka la heeyo oo Soomaalida ay iyaga laftigooda qoreen ama muxuu ahaa ummadaha kale oo Soomaalida la macaamuleen ay ka qoreen Soomaalida kuwaasna baxthi weyn meel weyn ka qaadatay researchgaas subinano muxuu ahaa iyadoo with that said Soomaalida oral traditionka Soomaalida leeyihiin ma aha wax oo completely qaldan waxa aan cadeen taas inay completely qaldaneen Soomaalida qabaa'ilkooda iyo abtiriskooda waa wax muxuu ahaa la sheegi karo to some degree in Soomaalida abtiriskooda uu qalad ku jirin markay dhihiyaan magacaaga waa Maxamed aabahaaga waa Ismaaciil awogaaga waa Khalid
they're very specific with it they know
and how do we know that that's the case there's an evidence of how tribes are formed qabaa'ilka qabiil sidoo u soo baxaa there's two ways qabiil ku soo baxo wadamada qabaa'ilka wadamo badan qabaa'il leh muxuu ahaa qabaa'ilka labo dhinac ku soo baxaa si waxa waaye dad oo meel isla degan laba village laba tuulo daris ah tusaalo their neighbors mogtahay waa lagu soo duulay somebody attacked them labadaas village dadka degan heshiis waxay qaadanayaan leeyihiin villagekan waxa degan tuuladan waxa degan inta degan iyo tuuladan heshiino hal qabiil noqono unification qabaa'il badan oo adduunweynaha geeska Afrika iyo Carabaha ma aha meelaha kale qaarkood Carabaha xitaa laga hayaa oo ku dhismadeen political alliances ku dhismadeen
of course
so ma aha by blood the other way oo qabiil ku dhismanayo waxa waaya abtiris iyo by blood you cannot go into a qabiil by just agreeing with that qabiil politically Somalida they never except in some circumstances that we will discuss in later episodes they rarely create a new qabiil out of just political alliances and if they do political alliances with other qabiils magacooda ma bedelaan abtiriskooda ma bedelaan
so they keep the list going it doesn't just stop there they keep their name their lineage they keep everything prioritized
so that is a proof of that their oral tradition when it comes to abtiriskooda ma aha wax oo la dhihi karo qalad baa ku jiro up to
a certain point
so marka hordhacaas kaliya rabna inaan nii sheegno
just give you a preview
of sourcigana meesha ka imaanayo kama imaanayo kaliya oral tradition and oral tradition ka dhibaatooyin uu leeyahay at the same time wuxuu leeyahay proof that Soomaalida oral tradition kooda inuu yahay wax oo intact ah oo reliable ah to some degree and interreliable ka we are going to use it as facts interreliable ka ahna su'aalaha ku jiro oo proof lahayn
we'll let you know a little bit
yes marka with that said Mohammed let us go ahead and start
perfect every time I hear you speak Somali I get encouraged more to learn some Somali, man.
aniga xataa ma aqaan
I'm
brother
telling you
Somali
now, man. It's a beautiful language. I have to.
maybe between me and you aniga ina xogaa yaris laba kelmad aqaano but like
Yeah.
qofka dhageysanayaan hadda
I'm telling you,
jiraan
man. I'm telling you,
Somali
man.
ma yaqaan
So for today, before we cut right into the main topics we'll be discussing, we figured that the first 5 to 10 minutes or so would be dedicated to sharing some information from our more contemporary current time. Some of this news might be a little dated as of the release of the episode. Nevertheless, it may have escaped your view. You may have not been paying attention. First bit of news, Somalia just celebrated its 64th National Flag Day. I had no idea. The flag of Somalia was officially adopted on October 12, 1954. The flag was first used in the Trust Territory of Somaliland in the short-lived state of Somaliland, which united on July 1st, 1960 to form, the greater Somali Republic that we know today. So 1960 was the independence. Somalia already drafted a national flag before they even got independence. And they had a national constitution before, about 6 years before they even had independence. So you kind of already see where people's minds were at in the country. That they're like, we're fed up with this. We're gonna get our independence soon. We got to get our stuff ready for it. So just to kind of, I've always was curious of what every country can describe what their flag means. Pretty much, this certain color describes this, The blue field of the Somali flag is the same shade as the United Nations blue, and it symbolizes peace and tranquility. The 5-pointed white star of unity, that's what it's called, the white star of unity, is symbolic of the Somali ethnic peoples found in Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, and former associated British and Italian colonies in Somalia. That's what it represents, the 5-pointed star. Now, that's the official definition of what the 5-pointed stars mean. When they did the application, that's what it means. But when I did a bit more digging background, they said those 5-pointed stars represent the noble clans. The noble clans. There are 6 official clans in Somalia. However, there's 5 the noble ones, which is just vernacular and doesn't mean any disrespect when we say it. We just stating facts of what the situation is currently. Now, interesting fact: the guy who created the national flag, Haji Mohammed, butcher the name, Awale, is credited for creating the Somali flag as we know it today. He was a prominent Somali scholar at the time who was also a nationalist. He was very Somali-centric and loved Somalia to the fullest. He was heavily involved in the government up until 1964. Unfortunately, he along with many other scholars and academics and elites of the region, they were all ousted and exiled sometime during the Civil War around 1991. It's very unfortunate. We will have more episodes in the future that get specific to what went down during the Civil War. You just need to know that this guy who created the national flag, around 1991, he was kicked out of Somalia by the Aidid regime and all of that. Now, the only other bit of news to touch on here, because we aren't a news program, this is all mainly top picks of ours that we hope would entice you to seek out more news about Somalia, right? Sometime in late September of this year, the World Bank approved its first grants to Somalia in 30 years. It's been 30 years since Somalia basically got its credit score good enough to take out a loan from the World Bank. It's the first time.
That's good.
30 years. It's amazing. Initially, the $80 million in grants was intended to fund public finance reforms in the country and help build up the infrastructure, roads, bridges, hospitals, things like that, public service programs. However, more recently, I'm talking about super recent, like right now, October 12th, this past Friday, Norway, in cooperation with the World Bank's State and Peacekeeping Fund, along with a whole bunch of other host nations, decided to commit an additional $54.3 million in grants to Somalia. This is all spurred on by industries that show great promise within Somalia, such as mobile money. Somalia has one of the most active mobile money markets in the world, outpacing most other countries. That's just a fact. Approximately 155 million transactions worth worth an estimated 2.7 billion are recorded per month in Somalia. Right?
More than half of the population. Somalia 15 million. I think.
Exactly.
More than half of the population
uses money. They don't have cash.
They use cell phones.
Cell phone. The report goes on in detail. It says mobile money has superseded the use of cash in Somalia, with over 70% of adult Somalis using mobile money services regularly, like you just said right now. It also doesn't hurt that Somalia's GDP is currently the highest it's been in decades. At a comfortable, it's not the best, but it's a comfortable, for now, 7.3 billion, ranking Somalia as the 36th of 54 countries in Africa for gross domestic product. So we're on the rise.
Yeah, it's a very positive thing, because with no central government,
that's the important thing to state.
Powerful enough central government,
with transitional federal governments, with natural disasters like famine happening, all these adversities that face Somalia, we still manage some way, somehow, to persevere and push through it, and it's very admirable. And the world community is now saying, hey, these people, despite all the bad stuff that's been happening, they're still very, business minded and want to take care of themselves. So the world is taking notice, and they want to invest in Somalia the way that Somalia is investing in itself. These are just a few highlights, and like I mentioned earlier, we encourage you to seek out news regarding Somalia. When we come back, we'll dive right into today's topics.
Welcome back. Marka hadda waxaan ka hadlaynaa taariikhdii hore Soomaalida taariikhdooda hore aan ka hadlaynaa.
Yeah, just the prehistory before Somalia.
Pre-Somalia, muxuu ahaa diinta Islaamka intuu soo gaarin ka hor. Muxuu ahaa taariikhda horta hore marka researchiga suubinayna ama baxthiga aan suubinayna waxaan rabnaa inaan ogaano what was the earliest mention of Somali, not only Somali people, but wax ka hadlayo dhulka Soomaaliya.
The land of Somalia. The earliest mention of the Somali land and the Somali people.
Okay. That's So and we need to distinguish before we go on. By the way, we need to distinguish when we talk about sources. earliest mention is
Yeah.
3rd millennia.
Oof.
Sumerian muxuu ahaa empire had some trades with a land they called the land of black land of Meluha.
Black land of Meluha. Oof.
So they used to refer to trade-ka oo ka dhaxeeyay the Sumerian people waa taqaanaa waxa waaye Mesopotamian empire waaye oo ku taalay hadeer
Gilgamesh is it the book? Yeah, it's the earliest literature. Yep.
oo muxuu ahaa empire-kooda wuxuu ku taalay Iraq hadeer modern day Iraq ku taalay marka waxay ka hadlayaan trade-ka iyo waxa ka dhaxeeyay iyaga iyo dadka degnaayeen
that region of the world.
regionkaas oo tahay the black land of Meluha ay dhahayaan waa waxa hadda loo yaqaano muxuu ahaa geeska Africa Somalia loo yaqaano marka baxdigaas markaas subinay waa pointiga fahanay waxay ahayd in horta hore la kala saaro dadka degnaayeen 3rd millennia Sumerianka markay degnaayeen waa 2500 sano ka hor.
Yikes. That's so long ago.
dadka dhulkaas degnaayeen maanta ma dhihi karno waa 100% waa Soomaalida awooyaashooda ma dhihi karno.
Everybody
waxaa dhici karto dad inay ahaayeen waqtigaas degnaayeen oo ka guureen Soomaalida kadib moogtaa sida hadeer Mareykan 400 sano ugu dambeysay Mareykan waxaa haystaan European haystaan Soomaaliya laakiin 1000 sano ka hor Mareykan yaa degnaa
Native Americans.
marka Soomaaliya sidoo kale you never know goormi ahayd waqtiga dadka hadda Soomaali loo yaqaano goorma aa la dhihi karaa dad saas u eg dhaqankooda hadalkooda
the culture their language what were they doing everything like that.
goormi dhulkaas soo degeen taas weli ma ogin anaga taas ma soo saari karo laakiin waxaa ognahay inuu dad degnaa.
We know for sure people live there. I mean, because the earliest burial customs were found in Somalia from like 4 BC. In the Paleolithic period, they have burial customs in Somalia, near Somaliland, where it was like they have dig sites, you know.
Hargeysa agteeda maxay magaceeda meesha
and they also even have the cave paintings Las Gale cave paintings. So these things are all like historical evidence that this area was occupied by a people.
What people we don't know. We cannot paint them as Somali.
We have to make the distinction
unless we have the signs that dadkaas in Somali ahaayeen.
Because what we're discussing is pretty much when it comes to prehistory the at that early stage of humanity, people were traveling where life was pretty much. If one area dried up, they would go to another area that had good farming and good fishing and things like that. So people were constantly on the move. There was no borders to check people pretty much. Yeah.
Marka we just wanted to clarify that to our audience. Muxuu ahaa Sumerianka marka they referred to it and in the early Sumerian sources 3rd millennium 2000 plus years ago those sources waxa waaye xogaa sheeki waaye to the degree that dadkaas meesha degnaayeen inay Soomaali ahaayeen. But like as we go it gets clearer and clearer
that their distinction.
intii dadkaas yani dhaqankooda inay Soomaali u ekaayeen waa tan labaad waa maxay sourciga labaad ah heesano oo proven which is more clear. It's more
documented. It paints a better picture.
Paints a much better picture. So waa muxuu ahaa cilaaqada ka dhaxaysay muxuu ahaa faraacinta iyo Somalia.
The trade between Egypt and Somalia.
Absolutely.
In the big classical sense, what do they call it? The land of Punt.
The land of Punt. Yeah. And the land of gods.
Exactly. Yep.
Waxay dhihi jireen waa dalka ama dhulka awowayaasheena iyo culamadeena ka imaadaan dhihi jireen.
Yeah, that's how they described it. That's how they described it. Because I don't mean to cut you off here. They had they traded with the land of Punt with spices, frankincense, what I commonly refer to unsi, but I believe it's called something else, but ivory and things like that. And then also I also want to mention, because I'm getting a little excited here because I watched a documentary about it recently. There is I encourage everybody to look it up here. Just recently, as of like a few years ago, they were able to actually link the land of Punt to Somalia by an archaeologist. I can't remember his name, but he was digging in Egypt, and there's a painting in Egypt where it depicts a Somali queen and a Somali group, an envoy that was traveling to do trade. And in the envoy, there was a specific bird that was mentioned in the painting there. Okay, and that bird is specific to the region of Somalia. and they said, okay, you know what? These people they dress the same as Somali people. A lot of the ritual dances that they're doing is the same dances that you'll see at Somali night anywhere in Minnesota. Some of those dances. So there's a lot of linkage between the land of Punt, strong empirical evidence that it was located in the Horn of Africa, in Somalia. That's established.
The land of Punt.
Yeah.
There is, you're right. And the source that we read about from brother Ali Abdurrahman Hirsi, or
300-page dissertation. His college.
He talks about the land of Punt. It is disputed, but like in most evidences show that it's between
indicated
between this area Hader or Ergabo إلا رأس
northern Somalia.
رأس جواد فيرمال بوصاصو dhinaceeda geeska kale marka la sii aado ilaa ceergaabo inta u dhaxeyso area-daas lagu tilmaamaa mogtahay marka going back to the timeline, we said Sumerians were the earliest possible mention.
I still can't believe that long ago.
That long ago.
That's insane.
That those sources are shaky. They don't clarify to much detail. But like in the trade description
you can't.
between the Fara'inada of Egypt,
that's detailed,
and the Somali and the land of Punt. It is super detailed to a degree where we can 100% say that meeshaas degnaayeen and land of Punt waxay ahayd area Somalia hadda dadka degnaayeen waxay u badan tahay inay Soomaali ahaayeen u badan tahay dhihi karnaa
because they describe trade routes. This is something that's locked in.
So one of those trades, it's understood that in Somalia Ifrainta wax badan ku dhaxeysay,
a lot of business
ka dhaxeysay. One of those trades was more detailed than others, which was the one of those expeditions safarka oo businesska u soo bixi jireen Faraacinta soo bixi jireen waxay ka soo bixi jireen Egypt ka soo bixi jireen waxay qaadan jireen and badda guduudan ma laha
the Red Sea.
And they pass through the Bab al-Mandab. If you geography of Bab al-Mandab is that strait between Yemen and Djibouti and Bab al-Mandab kasi soo dhaafiyaan. They travel and they get to the land of Punt, right? So Hatshepsut, which was a queen, one of the longest serving queens in
ancient
Egypt, restarted the expedition. They talk about
why she restarted
it. They restarted the trade between Somalia between the land of Punt and
Egypt. After a long period.
After a long period of not trading. And why is that? Because that period of time where there was no trade between Somalia and land of Punt iyo Faraacinada waxaa la ogaaday waxay ahayd mar oo Faraacinada la soo invade gareeyay. There was a time where the Egyptian kingdom waa la soo invade gareeyay. Waxaa soo invade gareeyeen dad la dhaho magacooda iga maqan muxuu ahaa Hyksos. Hyksos dad la dhaho. So they invaded Egypt. And for 400 years wax ku dhow ama 300 years wax ku dhow the trade relationship between
the land of Punt and
Egypt was stagnant. Was nothing. Yaa bilaabay markii boqortooyada Faraacinada markay soo noqotay waxaa bilowday Hatshepsut naagta.
She kickstarted the business trade again.
So I'll just paraphrase some of what the brother said here. First, the Hatshepsut mission had double importance. Okay, firstly, it embarked on a renewal of a contact between Egypt and the Somali coast, severed during the invasion of Egypt by the Hyksos about a century and a half earlier, like 100 years. It was 100 years ago. By that time, Hatshepsut imanes land of Punt, there was no trade because of the invasion.
She had double the work to do, pretty much.
Secondly, it was more importantly. For the purpose of our conversation here, the report of the expedition furnished us with the oldest eyewitness account of the characteristics of the people living in the Horn and their cultural conditions. Right?
So it describes what those people were like in that region at that time. The earliest written down things.
Yep. It describes the number of sailboats, which was like around 8 of them, each one of them having 100 people in it, total of 500 people. They describe specific the goods keeneen iyo goodska ay soo qaateen ay kamid tahay frankincense, lubanta,
spices, ivory, gold, things like that. Wow.
wixii ka hadlayaan muxuu ahaa meeshii kusoo degeen calula loo tilmaamaya calula hadda waxa meesha la dhaho lagu tilmaamaya waxay ka hadlayaan muxuu ahaa hadalka ka dhaxeeya iyaga iyo dadka land of punt degnaayeen oo waxaa ka mid ahayd su-aale ay weydiinayaan maxaan igu dhacayo waaya nagu imaan wayseen oo boqolkiisa
So they started interrogating them, kind of like, hey, what happened? Like, we used to have a good relationship, and now you guys are, I guess, just back now. All of a sudden.
Marka
that's fascinating.
We encourage our listeners to
definitely do the research.
Do the research about the Habshat muxuu ahaa expedition to Somalia, which was 2,000 plus years ago.
2,000 plus years ago. So my understanding, so basically, like the lady, the queen, she reinstituted trade and diplomatic relations with Somalia after a long period of going MIA because they were dealing with their own internal civil war or invasion issues.
They came from the east, so the east of Egypt to Hawaii, modern day Palestine, Israel,
areas. So fascinating.
They got invaded from that area. For 100 years, they were occupied.
They were occupied,
and then after that they restarted.
I had no idea.
And this is documented in the and Habshat expedition. We have a written record of it from the Fa'inada laftigooda oo ka hadlayaan
what they how did they describe Somali people, by the way? I'm not sure if
they describe the goods, their goods, their culture resembling dharkooda. They say they resemble the Egyptian-ka labiskooda. Their paintings, the paintings of the Egyptian depicting the Somali people-ka oo meeshas degnaayeen waxay u egyihiin dad iyaga u eg. waana aragtay if you saw
pigmentation, the skin.
colorkooda ma aha cadaan ma aha madowna ma aha mogtahay so and dharkooda iyo muxuu ahaa their physical build waxay u ekeyd ileeyihiin Egyptian-ka meesha aadeen oo faraacinada iyaga u ekeyd. That's why they used to refer to them as the land of their ancestors.
Oh wow.
Habshat laftigeeda iyo faraacinta laftigooda waxay leeyihiin dadkan waa dadkeena hore.
These are our ancestors.
Whether that's true or not,
it's just a title that they gave the land of Punt. Essentially, that's documented. See, it's so interesting when it comes to trade and business. No matter where you go in the world, that's where you would find the most documented information. Nobody wants to mess around with their finances or their goods or what they're importing or exporting. That's very fascinating. I had no idea.
No, it's amazing. That's the second point that we wanted to mention as far as early sources. The third early sources gives us more of a clarification. The third source that we wanted to highlight in 50 BC, no 50 AD, year 50 AD. وحواي وكن 900 سنة كهر. 900 سنة كهر. nin Roman Greek Greco-Roman إيرهان. wuxuu qoray book la dhaho the Periples of
the Sea, right?
The Periples
of the
Erythraean
Sea. I read it too. I cannot pronounce it.
I know. Periples kas bas fahmna. You see, Erythraean Sea, I have no idea what that is.
Ethereal Sea. But he essentially was a traveler that went to the ports.
Between all the known world at that time and described those ports.
Because the Greeks, just to kind of give people a little bit of context, the Greeks were known to have a culture at the time where they viewed in the most respectful terminology that one can use, they viewed anybody who was race wasn't a thing in Greek from the research that I've done. You can be an African so long as you adopt the Greek culture of philosophy and questioning and thinking, you could become Greek at that time of the world. They literally viewed the entire world as barbarians, uncivilized. They brushed everybody with a broad stroke at that certain time when he was going around traveling with a broad stroke of everyone is just barbarian. Unless they commit to our lifestyle and our way of thinking, then they are culture. They're not barbarians anymore. They're Greek. They're culture. So when this guy was going around traveling to ports and everything, I don't mean to cut you off. You did the research. He was essentially kind of on a discovery of, oh wow, these people, what are they doing? How are they living? What are they trading in? And things of that nature.
It's funny. It's you're right when you say barbarians. I don't know, but like in the name that the guy who wrote this book, the Greek guy that wrote this book 1,900 years ago, was referring to the Somali people oo meeshas degnaayeen dhulkaas degnaayeen magaalooyinkaas oo deged ahaayeen magaalooyin oo ports ahaayeen.
Yeah.
He was referring to them as Berbers.
Berbers, yeah.
And the funny thing is, there is a
Berber tribe. Yeah.
There is a Berber tribe that is in North Africa, in modern day.
They travel a lot,
Morocco,
yeah.
iyo Chad, iyo Berbers ka buuxaan. Those are not the Berbers that they're talking about. Arabti hore iyo Greek hore, for some reason that we have no idea why, they used to refer to dadka Soomaalida xaggas degnaayeen
as Berbers. Yeah, that's when I did the research today. That's what it kept popping up that way as well.
Marka, this guy Kolabo described, like you said, he described the trade that was going on 1,900 years ago in the modern day India, modern day the Arabian Peninsula, modern day Persia, modern day East Africa, most notably Horn of Africa, Somalia. Mokta,
he was just connecting the dots.
It was just description. His book is actually described as a merchant's guide, like somebody who's a merchant at that time, a business person.
Where's safe to go?
Yes.
Where's good to do business?
Like a guide, like their Google basically.
It's like Google Maps at the time.
At the time.
Yep. Exactly.
So he just says, oh, this city is such and such. These people live.
If you're part of this group, you should stay away from this city. Or this and that. Yeah.
So let's few mentions of the cities that was described in the book.
Yeah.
Was there's a city that he refers to as Avilites, and most likely the researchers say that that's Zayla, and there's a city that he refers
before it was named Zayla. It was
it's been named Zayla, but their terminology.
That's what he used for it.
That's what they used for it. Because, for example, I'll give you an example of how a city can have an ancient name known by its people, but another people might know it by another name, depending on their language. For example, where is it? Astria. Astria. Yeah. The Austrian people know themselves as Astria, probably. I don't know. But in English, it's Astria.
Yeah.
Right? And it's been Astria for so long. Right? Yeah. But in Arabic, it's not Astria. In Arabic, it's called Nimsa. Totally different name. It's not even like you know what I mean?
Not correlation, It's totally different.
So this guy, Zayla, in his book, refers to Avilites. Zayla, Avilites. Another city, and they're all coastal towns because of the trade. Malau, wa Berbera. Another city, Mundis. This is 1,900 years ago.
And these are the things that we're discussing here are things that we can documentally point to, factual. It's not us like making up or going based off of what we described earlier, what our parents or ancestors might have described. Oh, Somali people, we came from here. This is things that anyone can go and research and open up a book and find evidence for. That's what we're working off of here.
Right.
That's the information that we're working off of.
Absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that. The Mundis magaalo hadda la dhaho he's Allah ma aqaan kule. And the sad thing is magaalooyinka dhan aan sheegi doono oo magaalooyin hadda today is they're just deserted. But muxuu ahaa waxay lahaayeen taariikh dheer ay lahaayeen. Mazilum,
and these are all
which is Ras Hantera Ras Hantera. Iyo Open Opone. That's the name that he used for this city called Hafun.
Wow.
Hafun muxuu ahaa Opena ku qorneed.
Wow.
So those cities were a number of villages and coastal towns that the book that's called Perpolis of Ethiopian Sea. It's actually a book that's available. You can literally
you can pick it up and read this book. And we encourage all of our listeners to go out and do research and contact us with any further details that we may have missed. But that's so fascinating. It's more interesting to me to know that Somalia, there are people there doing things and living and just doing business and running around. That's what fascinates me about it as early as that point.
As early as that. One of the descriptions that this guy Perpolis of Ethiopian Sea Arthur wrote about was the political nature of the inhabitant of that land.
Oh.
So here's what we say. to this time, at this time, remember when we were talking about the Sumerian people, the Fara'ina, those sources, we were careful not to say those people were the Somalians. The
distinction.
We have no idea. They might be 50% chance that
just
they
who
are
occupied the area at the time. Yeah.
Or they could be,
how many empires? There's Macrobian. There's, like you said, the Abyssinian had that region for a minute, like close to Ethiopian area. There's so many different. That Horn of Africa was a lot of different empires.
Absolutely. Yeah. So at that time we weren't sure. Sumerian could be. This description from this book, from this Greek guy, describing the political situation of those people, gives us more of a certainty that those people that settled that area 1,900 years ago are most likely our ancestors, our Somali people.
Somali people. Yeah.
Why do we say that? So the description that one of the descriptions that the book describes is the political system in Hestan was a political system that is consistent of independent, numerous small town communities ruled by not a single person.
Wow.
There's no single central government. They were separated. The cities were separated by clans, odayaal, sultaniyal, chieftains, who recognized no higher authority
other than their immediate area, their immediate neighborhood, their immediate zone.
That's
documented.
That's documented.
Nice.
This description of the political system, oddly enough, it's the political system that the Somali people had for so long. Up until the modern era. Somalia historygooda dhan hadaa fiirisid waa ummad central government wax la dhaho ma naqaano anaga wax la dhaho magaalooyin kala duwan qabaa'il kala duwan waxaa heenayso xukumayso hal dowlada xukumayso.
It's not specific to us. It's just not something that has worked historically. It's not something that has worked.
It didn't exist. If you study the history of Somalia, central government waxaa keenay it's after post-colonization.
Yeah, people that wanted to structure things and put things in their terminology and their way of thinking. Like, hey, there has to be somebody that you answer to. There is somebody that has to answer to. It's just not somebody who lives 1,000-something miles away.
Right. It's a system of government, right? The new new state system. Yeah. The new system of the world.
Modern era.
When colonization happened, and the colonization ended, that is the first time that the Somali people got an understanding of something called central government. There was no concept
word
of
for
central government for the 5,000 or whatever thousand years
prior to that.
There's none.
Wow.
And then when we realize that, it makes sense that the struggle that we're having right now with the idea of
makes sense. Yeah.
Right now, if you the Somalia, we're struggling with the concept of federal government or a central government in Mogadishu controlling the rest of the country, and we have all these aspects.
Because the people locally, it's so interesting because just throughout history, even if you broaden it a bit here, there's states' rights in the United States of America, right?
Right.
Like there's people who want to stay localized in their region and not have to answer to an authority figure that's umbrella term above them.
Wow.
And like you're saying is that it didn't. For 5,000 or so years, but prior to that, it didn't. That's how Somali people worked. It was just local. This is my family. This is my tribe. These are my people. This is who I answer to, and who answers to me as well. I don't know anybody from a whole nother province. We might not even have the same dialect. Again, Somalia is huge, right? There's different dialects. There's Afmai in Somalia. There's different dialects. People speak a little bit differently. So it's like you have to respect people's autonomy in their little regions, if that makes sense.
The earliest description.
And these are things we can point to.
It's a very important thing. When we know
our situation right now,
then we can make sense of what's going on.
Those are Somali people. Those are my people.
Yeah. Those people do not recognize.
Those are my people he's talking about. So
they do not recognize any kind of central authority.
Yeah.
So it's not new. It's not new. Mamul Gabalet kan amaqlono. Mamul Gabalet kan, which is literally. Each state ruling themselves. All these ideas of not wanting a central government, it is rooted in the Somali tradition. It's rooted in the Somali culture. One of the earliest descriptions of the colonization, when the British came to Somalia, the earliest descriptions of their written documents, the British people describing the people of Somalia. What did they say?
They said they're unruly. They're not. They don't recognize our authority here. You need to. They literally said you need to isolate Somali people from our southern provinces, our protectorate. You need to isolate them because if a Somali goes there, he's going to walk. She or he is going to walk with their head too high, and other people in the protectorate will view that and say, okay, how come this person's not acting that way? There's literally documented officers, British officers. We're jumping a lot in time here, but just to give you a bit of context, that this area, this region and this area that people lived in, they all had a certain characteristic about them. There's literally documented British officers, captains, speaking and writing back to the parliament saying, hey, we can't control these people because why? Our officers cannot stand the fact that these Somalis are walking around, not putting their head down, not feeling any type of inferiority complex against the officers.
We actually have a huge superiority complex.
Beyond superiority complex, it's like to the point where we just, we're like...
Soomaaliyeed
Exactly.
Ogta Soomaalida meeshaas degnaayeen iyo Britishka markay imaadeen waxay wareysanayaan kuwa Swahili ah waxay leeyihiin dadkaas yaa waaye markaasuu midka Swahiliga dhahaa Buena, these are Somalis, every man his own sultan.
That's what he said. That's what he quoted. He said,
that's the quote that is in the
book. That's what's documented. These guys are their own sultan. Every man his own sultan.
So when we realize that,
it puts
going back to purpose of the sea,
imperial sea.
The description that he had about the political system that these people 1,900 years ago fits the tradition that the Somali people
currently living in
today, which is zero authority on them. They want
autonomy.
Yeah.
They want
laftooda clear fikiriyaan
So I think we're gonna probably take another short little break here. When we come back, we'll go on to our next topic. We learned a lot when it comes to Somali people. There's certain characteristics about the people that lived in that region. When we come back here, we'll discuss our main topic today, and it's a topic that's been, in my opinion, beaten to death a little bit within the Somali community, and it's to answer the question: Are Somali people Arab? Are Somali people black? Are Somali people a mixture of both? Where did Somali people come from? And when we're back, we'll discuss that in a little bit more detail and context. وسؤال تأويني ذلك يا إسكالي وسؤال تأويني ذلك يا إسكالي كديدالي بالمدى دونالي كان قبيل كديدالي بدني مدى دونالي كان ديدي هوشتاري كان لعبك دور سنو وحكستا ودقاتو وديك جيري دحلي سالي Before our break, we briefly mentioned that we would delve into the discussion, in my personal opinion, a topic that's been just beaten to death within the Somali community and just at large here. It's a matter of race. Before we have the discussion matter of race, it's good to set up some facts, all right? So we are all working with the same amount of information when it comes to race in Somalia. How do Somali people identify themselves? What are some of the correlations and differences between Arab culture and Somali culture. First and foremost, Somalia is the country, as we know it today, is a member of the Arab League, correct? Its second official language is Arabic. These are facts, right? Islam, Sunni Islam, is the majority religion in Somalia. So all of these things, again, aren't culture, because religion is not a culture. Religion is din talawa. It's your faith. In my personal opinion, when you work with facts as far as Somali people, are they African? Are they black? Are they Arab? I like to view it in the context of North America, right? You have a Canadian, an American, and a South American, right? All three live on the continent of North America, right? There's 7 continents on the planet. Africa and North America are one of them. A Canadian and an American cannot sit across from each other and say they're not from North America. They're both from North America. That's the umbrella term. When you break it down, then there's their countries: United States of America, Canada. Somalia is in the continent of Africa. Therefore, Somalis are African, just from a purely logical, geographical standpoint. That's my view, right? And you and I, Muhammad and I, may differ on it a lot, because Africa, again, has many 54 countries inside of it. Somali people, when you look at literally stuff that's defined, they are a part of the Kushtik, if I'm saying it correctly, people. They are a member of that group from linguistics, their language, and their appearance. They're part of that branch of the world. And that entire region of the world, and again, we're literally working with simple facts that you can look up. That region of the world has some of the oldest artifacts when it comes to our ancestry as humans. It has some of the oldest artifacts, some of the oldest cave paintings, some of the oldest indicators of where human life began. These are not arguments that people can have. Africa is where
Christian people are.
Christian people are. This is where humanity started, and that's where I view it from. And again, this is a larger conversation that we're definitely not going to come to the conclusion and solve the hotly debated topic of race and identity. That's not what we're going after here. We're literally trying to come to a concise
preview of our
preview
upcoming...
of it's something that's a theme that's going to continually pop up here and there. And everybody has, literally, last episode we talked about identity and how people choose to self-identify themselves. Somali American, American Somali. Same thing with Arab African. If you yourself have a forefather who came from Yemen, things like that, then yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's your family line. And the final point that I want to make before my brother Mohammed takes it here is that we need to make a distinction between ancient Somalis, who we've been discussing about all day, this entire episode, ancient Somalis, and the present day Somalis that we're a part of currently. Present day Somali people, each tribe has a mythos about their lineage and where they came from, has an ideal version of where they came from. They will tell you, we are descendants of such and such sheikh that migrated from Yemen, Habshan Sud, and then when you not Habshan, but when you take it further, they'll say that we are descendants of Quraysh, which is the Prophet's tribe.
Not other Arabs.
Not other Arabs.
But specifically, the Prophet, for some reason, Quraysh.
The Quraysh, the Prophet's tribe. That's what Somalis will tell you, and that is just an indication that tells you how deep Islam runs in Somali people. Islam has been a part of Somalia since the 7th century. Okay, even very early. Very final point. Before I get too into it, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu and these again, religion aside, this is a fact and documented. Mm-hmm. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu lived in the real world. The wars that he fought, these are not ideas that people are making up. I don't have to be a Muslim to believe in them. Mm-hmm. These are wars and battles that actually happened, that you can look up the implications and what they did. Also, what's also documented is that the Sahabas migrated and left Mecca and Medina and migrated to Abyssinia, which was a Christian empire. Where was it located? East Africa. When they came back, the Prophet specifically instructed them and said, if you ever run into any problems, leave those people alone. If you run into them again, they are good people. They gave you shelter. Leave them alone and have peace with them. They made peace with Somali people, and Somali people made peace with them, and then they began a well-documented history moving forward from
Abyssinia,
there.
So yeah, Abyssinia muxuu ahaa inkastoo some
That's
Ethiopians
documented.
might say Abyssinia was mainly Ethiopia, but
Yeah.
yes,
But that region, that area
region,
of the world.
yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So my point on what you were saying, I absolutely agree with how you put it as far as muxuu ahaa Soomaalida waa dad Afrikaan ah. muxuu ahaa sida raba ha loo macaaneeyo awowayaashan iyo ayayaashan sidii rabaan hanoo dhahaan muxuu ahaa abtiriskeena iyo carab baan ahnay Soomaalida carab ma aha Soomaalida 100% carab ma aha this is not an opinion, it's a fact, because Somali people, if you just research DNA hadda dhinac iska dhigtid dhiiga hadda dhinac dhigtid muxuu ahaa kaliya baxthigaaga uu noqdo luqadda ay ku hadlaan hadalka ay ku hadlaan dhaqanka ay isticmaalaan yii u eg yihiin oo yii u badan yihiin in oo la dhihi karo dadkan waxay u dhow yihiin qaraabo yihiin muxuu ahaa ma carabi qaraabo yihiin mise oromada iyo ummadda kale oo East Africa degan oo cafarta iyo muxuu ahaa qabaa'ilkan kale oo degan East Africa labadaas keebay u badan yihiin Soomaalida waxay u badan yihiin kushtik to Oromo people u badan yihiin iyo muxuu ahaa kuwaasaa noo dhow more genetically muxuu ahaa geographically like you said geographically you had the analogy of
the United States, North America,
muxuu ahaa marka that's
a fact.
That's a fact.
Nobody can argue.
The only thing about the Somali people that what makes them a little bit different than their cousins of Romo and dadka kale or Africa and East Africa degan is that Somali people specifically, you can say waa kuwa diinta islaamka ugu horeeyay dhinaca East Africa.
Yes, that's
because
true.
Because of that they had other deep relationships, more deeper than the other ethnicities with the Arab people.
Exactly.
Historical, like thousands of years.
They had more chances to run in with them.
We encountered Arabta. We lived with them, and because of that, there has been intermarriages going on. Somalida tradition koda throughout their history, they had a unwritten policy which is and it's an unwritten policy where they say we marry our enemies or we marry the people who are outside of us. So that way they use that
encourage
marriage. So in a way of like
encouraging fostering peace, de-escalating situation,
any conflict you have, which encouraged Somalia inay markasta guursadaan dadka oo
outside
ka imaanayo muxuu ahaa si ay buuqas u yareeyaan Arab badan iyo Soomaali badan ay isdhex galeen muxuu ahaa diinta islaamka and Soomaalida more of illa hadeer compared to Oromada iyo muxuu ahaa
more involved
more tradition. With that said, another example of how this idea of Somalida wa Arab has no weight is we just talked about in the introduction or in the earlier segment of how long ago dhulka Soomaaliya la dhaho hadeer la degnaa.
Exactly.
2,000 sano ka hor la degnaa dad aan ku qiyaasi karno inay Soomaali yihiin
prior to the advent of Islam and everything like that.
900 sano ka hor waxaan ku qiyaasi karnaa dadkaas inay Soomaali ahaayeen because of the evidences
the burials, the trade, the Habshusul you talked about, all these examples that we gave throughout the entire episode. Yes.
dadkaas oo dhan aan dhehayna Soomaali u eg yihiin ama Soomaali
the characteristics and everything.
waxaas oo dhan if we take the idea of Somalida wa Arab waxaas oo dhan ka kacay noqonaysa.
It goes away, it goes away.
Why? How? Because we'll just take the example of Darod, Sheikh Darod, right? Sheikh Darod, just like Sheikh Isaac, labada example u qaadanna. Isaac iyo Darod labada aabayaal ama labada awowayaal ay ka imaadeen Soomaalida badanaa labada qabaa'il oo abtirskooda waqtigay noolaayeen gormay ahayd.
It's fairly recently when you look at the history, when you compare it to the overall history of Somali people and their customs and traditions and cultures and the entire faith that they had besides Islam, it's very recent when you compare it to that.
Less than 1,400 years ago.
So you mean to tell me Somali people just 1,000 years? Come on, man. I'm out.
10th century. Sheikh Darod waxaa lagu qiyaasaa 10th century inuu noolaa. How do we know that? It's
documented.
How do we know that? You can actually calculate it yourself. So let's say maanta abtriskaaga suusanaysa adiga abtriskaaga qaadanaysa Muhammad and Ali
give my government
and Farah heblo abtriskaaga dhan ma sheegay Muhammad Farah and Khalid heblo and you do your abtris up to Darod. And every name in your abtris, you give them a generational estimate time in Olayan of like 30 years and 40 years, right?
Yeah.
Generational time ay noolaayeen 30 years 40 years aa subinaysaa and just multiply marka how many names do you have between you and Darod multiply you get to around 1100 years ago which was 10th century.
That's not even
10th century. So Darod 10th century noolaa Isaaq 10th century noolaa which was 400 sano ilaa 500 sano waqtiga nabiga sallallahu alayhi wasallam kadib mogtahay haddii Soomaalinimada dhan intaas ku go'ayso
beautiful
kadibna aan dhaheeno muxuu ahaa Daarood kadib Soomaali Carabi ahaayeen marka ma sheegan karno dhulka Soomaaliya.
It's not logical. The time even as much as you want to fit that information in that narrative, it's not logical in the context of the timeline, just the timeline and the time frame when you talk about it. You're basically doing the egg before the chicken omelet. Like you're trying to say that you are Arab or part Arab, but you know the timeline and the time frame doesn't add up to that. So, but again, but again, this is a larger conversation, and me and Mohammed are not going to solve the issues within the Somali community and within the Islamic world of our Somali people, Arab. We all have personal anecdotes that we can give of going out throughout life, leading that double narrative, being a black man, being a Muslim, being Somali, African. Like there's so many different labels you can throw into it. But just to give you a bit of, we're not ignoring the topic. We're not avoiding it. We're just giving you the documented information behind it so that you yourself can make up your own aftiris. You can make up your own logical conclusion of how you want to identify and feel for yourself. So
I agree with you. The only thing that we just need to clarify is abtiris ahaan, lineage wise, the Somali people are not Arab and moreover are not Quraysh. that's just not, lineage ahaan. It has no fact
based in it. There's no fact to it.
Yeah. We can say, however, there is a very, very, very extensive relationship between Somalida iyo Arabta, which resulted in dhaqanka inuu dhaqan oo muxuu ahaa ka duwan noqdo Oromada iyo dadka kale Afrikada degan, dhaqan oo muxuu ahaa Arabta u dhow. Dad badan oo waxaa jiro boqolaal sano oo Arab ka imaadeen oo Soomaali guursadeen oo muxuu ahaa isku sheegayaan inay asalkooda Arab ahaayeen. waa jirtaa arrintaas,
of course,
but like in the idea of the major tribes belonging to such and such Arab and grandfather, not only any Arab qabil, but specifically qabil of Quraysh, not only Quraysh, Hashimiyat of
so specific,
yes, that is the part of the myth that comes into the oral tradition. Aan ka hadlayna marka hore markuu yahay historyga hadii laga dhigo kaliya waxa aan maqlay kaliya hadii laga dhigo historyga qaladaadkaas soo galayso, laakiin muxuu ahaa evidence shows that there is a relationship, there is a history, there is a very, very interlocked culture between Somalia and Arabta, but the lineage is
where
up to Darod. Lineage hadii Somali oo qofku ku dhaho Darod kadib ama hawiye
kadib, it's officially Somali. What you basically negate an entire history, like not even 100 years, 1,000 years, like millennia. You're just literally erasing it. But again, that's just our view on it. That's backed up by empirical facts and stuff that you can document on. And we're just going to wrap up. We're going to wrap up this segment when it comes to as far as race. There's a lot more that we wanted to discuss, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come up again and again throughout episodes. Me personally, I was super excited to discuss the faith that Somali nomads believed in prior.
What was that?
Prior to Islam, man. It was this religion that's not really well documented. It goes with Somali mythology, but it's not really specific to the Somali people. It goes with Oromo. It goes with that entire region where they worshipped Waq. It's like a Waq. It was the literal translation kind of goes into sky god. The guy who I was basically basing my entire research on was this Professor Abdullah Umar Mansour. He's a specialist in when it comes to Waqqa and what they believe in and what ancient Somalis believed in. They practice there's monotheism, there's atheism, there's different types of religion. They practice, if I'm saying it right, henotheism, which is basically the belief that I believe in my gods, but I'm not denying the existence of other gods or the possibilities of other gods. That's what the nomads believed in ancient Somalia before Islam. That's what they believed in. When they're nomadic herders, they're basically pretty open-minded about it. They said, I believe in my God, you believe in yours. We're cool, leave me alone. Do you?
So Waq was
the sky god in Somali, and it still basically affects our language today. When it rains really good, they call it like the God's rain, barwaaqo.
so كلمة barwaaqo waa laba kelmadood la isku keenay. Bar, which is area camal.
Area.
Waaqana waxa waaye the area oo Waq plus kale camal.
Yeah, so it's the area that, and it literally still is in our language a lot, the Waq language, and there's other figures that you have like, and some of the things, it's really interesting because in Waq, some of the stuff is identical to certain things that are in Islam, right? Waq nomads, they believe one God. There was one God. Islam is one God. They believed in, you had guardian spirits that were writing down your good and bad deeds. Islam has that, and there's a lot of different aspects to it. They believed in Hur, which is basically the angel of death. It's basically they believed in life and they believed in death, and it's a
Waq, another name that Waq comes into, like barwaaqo, is Somalida hadda badanaa waxay dhahaan weligay ilaahay ma arkin camal. Never have I seen camal. Markay dhahayaan Somalida waxay dhahaan weligay ilaahay waxaas ma arkin ama weligay ilaahay Somaha. They also say weligay iyo waaqay.
Whoa! See,
there's some people that say weligay iyo waaqay. So
it still impacts our.
Yeah, they used to say weligay iyo waaqay, and then as diinta Islaamka soo gaartay, Waq waxay u bedeleen ilaah. To this day, there is some people that say weligay waqi, but they don't refer to.
They don't refer to waqi.
Waqi hore, but they refer to Allah.
No, and then final little wrap up story here. And I don't know how factual this story is as far as from my research I tried. And again, we make the distinction from stuff that we have documented and we can back up versus stuff that we researched and found not that reliable. But apparently, nomadic Somali people used to believe in. They had a concept of how the world was set up. And in their view, the way that the world was set up in the nomadic lifestyle was that the world balanced itself on the tip of the horn of a bull. Okay? And the bull would stare at a calf that it loved, that it liked. And when it stared at the calf, anytime that the cow would look away, the bull would get agitated and upset and shake his head. But he was tied to a pole, so he couldn't run anywhere. So he'd shake his head, and when he would shake his head, the earth that was balancing on his horn would shift, and storms, and any bad thing would happen, tornado, whatever. That's how they explained having calamities and catastrophes happening. And that's the ancient nomadic thing. So
that's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
On next week's episode, we will be discussing the advent of Islam in Somalia, the relationship with the religion, and the other scholarly, written, documented notes of what Somalia was like and everything like that. Look forward to it. We're going to have to wrap things up for today. It's officially the second episode of the Say Wallahi Podcast, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback from the first episode, and we are very thankful and very happy for all the listeners out there, and we encourage you once again to do your research as well, to try and, we all want to build a community and fact check one another and build this thing up from the ground up. We are on SoundCloud, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, Twitter, iTunes, and Spotify are still messing with us a little bit, but we will get there. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us again, and hope you have a great day. Right.